there. Welcome to our show. I am Luann Fulmer. Today we're talking about a tough topic that has been in our headlines, and that's the conflict involving Iran. And as you're following the news, you might be wondering, well, what does this mean for me? My retirement, my family, or my life savings, right? Today we have Gary Marriage here with me, and he's going to help us make sense of all of this. And also keep the conversation focused on perspective and preparation. So if you want to schedule a complimentary appointment with Gary and our team at Nature Coast Financial, that is why we are here. Gary and his team focus on retirement planning. They are passionate about helping you live out the retirement of your dreams. So if you want to schedule that appointment, you can do it by just calling, or if you like to text the word visit 352-888-5851. 352-888-5851. Today you're going to hear Gary and I talk about his complimentary retirement CAT scan. And this is what they use to help retirees. They look at your plan and they see where you have weak spots or where you have situations that need to be looked at. This show is also available on Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio too. So remember, you can visit us anytime at naturecoastfinancial.com. And Gary, I'm so excited to be here with you. This is our first video cast, isn't it?
Yeah, first podcast. I'm excited about it too.
Yeah.
Everything's changing, right? We've got we're doing all the iHeartRadio and all the Apple stuff, and now we got YouTube as well. So excited about it.
Excited.
Let's get us number one on the charts with that too, right? Beat all these other people out there.
I know. So we've been talking about this a while. I'm so happy we're finally doing it. Gary, when you watch events like this unfold, you see these headlines, what is your first reaction?
Man, it's like we're going to war again, right? And you always hope it's for the better, and you always pray that it's the least amount of casualties possible.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously don't want any of them, though, too. It's got people like, have uncertainty, right? We all have uncertainty. It's like, oh my gosh, who's gonna be mad at us now, right? And how much more do I need to watch my six when I go outside and do the events and travel that we do and stuff too? But it's kind of like the volatility you got to watch out for too. And that's usually what I find when in this industry and this, being a financial planner is, people are worried about the stock market. They're worried about their money. They're worried about where's my next income check going to come through? What am I going to do on trips or vacations? We've seen this stuff going on in Mexico. I had friends of mine that were stuck in Mexico. They couldn't get out because of the turmoil and things that are going on down there too.
I know, that was scary. Everybody landed and then all of a sudden all that stuff happened with the cartel. Very scary.
Some of them made it in and some of them got stuck. Now, some of the resorts that are in Mexico, they're not too bad to be stuck at, right?
To be stuck
Some
at,
of us been there, right? But it's just that uncertainty of like, you're on lockdown. And you don't know really what's going on. And we rely on the news to give us, hopefully, the truthful information of what's going on and, why we're over there and what the mission is. But I know some people have some fears about, the uncertainty of markets and things like that, too. So we'll talk about that today.
Well, yeah. So how do you help your clients get through situations like this without panicking? I'm sure you're hearing a lot.
Yeah. And people are anxious, right? They have anxiety and, the stress and especially if you're just watching it all day long and unfolding on TV and things like that too, you feel like, you don't know if you're safe or if you're going to be financially safe at the same time. But when these tensions are high, some people make drastic changes, right? They get scared and they panic and they go, oh my gosh, I want to sell everything and I want to put everything in cash and stuff underneath the mattress, right? At the same time. But we can always look back and see how, the markets have transitioned in wartime periods like this. Okay. Some of the best returns we've had is right after that, or during conflict at the same time. Now, I'm hoping this thing's not going to go on for months and months or years and years like we've had in the past as well.
Right. Yeah.
But I can tell you this, the clients that we have that actually have a plan, Luann. They have a plan in place. So we've shown them what the potential is or what the impact is on their savings if there's a drastic market change, right? And fluctuations in the markets, these 1,000, 2,000 point drops that can happen. We can look back at COVID and see how things, reacted. Last year in April, we had like a bad month in April too. But we can forecast and kind of show people like how we did during those times, clients of ours, how they did. And then look at what you're doing right now too in your portfolios and how much you're down. You may be taking on too much risk if you're having these anxieties and, depression and sleep insomnia and just worried about where your next paycheck is going to come from. I think that's why it's key to have a plan in place and just have somebody watching this stuff for you and that's got your
Right.
back and just somebody you can talk to,
Hmm.
and you have these concerns and questions about.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
That's who you and your team are, actually. You're here for retirees, which is why, we're going to do this show and, be on YouTube and everywhere we can get the message out. Let's say I am retired and my nest egg, this nest egg is all I have.
Mhm.
What should I be thinking right now?
Yeah, I get it. So it's really, have you sat down with somebody like us, right? So what we're going to look at is, everything you've saved up thus far, like in 401ks, do you have a pension fund? Have you activated Social Security yet? What what are you spending a month? That's the hardest like question for a client to answer that I have is how much do you spend a month? Most people have no clue. All right. They'll say a couple $1,000s, but then I'm like, does that include like Amazon, and shopping and things like too, or
Yeah.
vacations and trips? And they're usually like,
Hmm.
no, I didn't, I
Mm,
didn't think about that. So maybe
right.
add another 500 or $1,000 to, to that at the same time. Right. Cause I got to cover those expenses too. Cause I don't want you to stop having fun, even though
Right.
everything's, kind of don't know where it's going right now, but it's risk
Hmm.
tolerance versus risk capacity too. How much risk you're taking in those portfolios. And then let's build a strategy that's going to help you if there's major volatility going on. Okay. So you don't want to shift course when this stuff is happening. Yeah, there's a storm
Hmm.
outside. All right. But we're protected from it. I mean, here in Florida, we have crazy hurricanes and things like that too. But what do we do before a hurricane? We prepare, right?
Yes.
We make sure we got batteries, make sure the flashlights are ready available, make sure there's enough gas in the generator, make sure there's enough gas in the vehicles and cars and things like that too. So hopefully this is just going to be a temporary situation and we've got a solution for you to show you like make sure that your money's not going to run out or you're not
Hmm.
taking too much risk in the stock markets or in the wrong positions. Maybe you're in the same stuff you were in years and years and years ago. Things have changed and things need to be updated too. So if you feel like you're taking on far too much risk than what you should be, you should talk to somebody about us because
Hmm.
don't let the things that are going on in Iran dictate how your money's going to be going forward in the future.
Exactly. The world is uncertain, but your retirement income should not be at all. So that is why we are taking this time today to help you make sure that your retirement strategy is ready to weather the storm, whatever it might be. And Gary and his team are offering you a chance to go in and see them. And guys, it's complimentary, okay? Let me give you the phone number because all you have to do is call this number, or if you want, you can text the word visit. Okay. It's very simple to get on their calendar. And again, like I said, it's complimentary. 352-888-5851. You can call that number, text the word visit. Okay. And that retirement CAT scan is pretty cool. And Gary, I know it's something that you and your team have worked so diligently on. And it's a full plan. Explain
Yep.
that real quick, please.
Yeah, so these questions or concerns you've got about the global conflict that's going on, am I okay? Am I positioned well? Is there something I should be taking advantage of? Got to tell you this, because when something's going down, guess what? Something else is going up.
Ooh.
Okay. So if you're not having somebody that's literally watching your stuff, like everybody says they do, but are they really watching your stuff? right? Have they looked at, how should you take income? Where you should be pulling your assets from? Like, what money you should be living on right now? Is there any advantages you should be taking of the tax incentives we have right now? If you have any questions about retirement, that's what this retirement CAT scan is for, is to answer all the questions you have and probably give you more questions, right? But it's to give you that like certainty to know that with all this stuff that's going on right now, you're going to be okay. All right. So give us a call, 352-888-5851, or you can text the word visit. We can do this on Zoom. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm used to being on camera all the time. So
Mhm.
we can do Zoom too. So about 60% of my visits anymore, Luann, are over Zoom. I talk to
Right.
people all over the country and do
Yeah.
this and help them out.
Exactly.
Cool.
You're located in Florida, but you can help people anywhere, and that's what I love.
Yeah,
And you do. You help
I
people.
do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you've joined Coasting into Retirement, and we are so thankful and so happy to have you along. I'm Luann Fulmer here with my friend Gary Marriage. He is president, CEO of Nature Coast Financial Advisors. And if you are just joining us, we're talking about global conflict, okay? And how wars and political unrest around the world could impact your finances. And we're here to tell you, with all the uncertainty in the world, and you feel like your financial situation is at risk, it doesn't have to be. So explain how people need to approach their retirement strategy, Gary, during times like this.
So some of the financial news that you hear can lead to bad decisions. I've seen people do this, right? I've seen it during even the dot-coms in the 2008 period. People were scared of the markets. The markets were plummeting. Real estate was plummeting, and they sold everything and they went to cash, all right? And the problem is they stayed in cash too long because they hurt their financial future because they took on all those losses. Their money dropped down to here. They never got a chance to get all those upside and rebounds. Sometimes this thing rebounds in 5 or 6 days. Sometimes it could be just in a couple days. So they
Right.
missed those double-digit returns in those few days that they could have gotten back to where they were, right? But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those people had too much risk in the beginning of it, all right? They didn't sit with somebody like us to show them how we can reduce the risk. Some people are taking on so much risk and they're getting just small returns, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to do that. So that's why I love the financial team that I have. The whole investment team is literally their job is to see how much risk you're taking today. Is there a way or is there a strategy that we can utilize and position you into where you're going to get the same, if not better return you're getting right now with half of the risk? That's huge.
That
Okay.
is.
So
Yes.
when things drop 20%, you may be down 10. When things drop 40%, you're down 20. Yeah, that's no fun, right? But,
Mhm.
so do you need to take on that much risk? Maybe you don't need to. Some people only need to make 3, 4, 5% a year to make sure that their money's going to do all the stuff they want to do in the future. But so many people are like, I want to make 20%. I want to make 30% a year. That's fine. Just do it in small positions, right? So you
Yes.
don't take these big drastic drops and lose everything, your entire nest egg. All right. So let's just focus on what you can control right now. Let's have a strategy design, and we will weather all these markets and these ups and downs that we have with all the turmoil and the geopolitical stuff that's going on today.
Now, I want to bring up Social Security. So many of us rely on Social
Mm,
Security. It's a key
yeah.
part of our retirement income. Explain how people can make the most out of it during these uncertain times.
Social Security really is, people thought of it years ago like that was going to be the retirement fund,
Yeah.
right? Because not everybody got pensions, and still I think it's less than 20% of people get pensions anymore, especially that I see too.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it wasn't designed to cover all your expenses, right? I'm looking at my Social Security benefits in the future, and I'm just hoping it's going to cover my cell phone bill. Okay.
Couple hundred a month.
Yeah,
Huh.
because everything is going up like crazy, right?
Yeah.
But the key with Social Security is, if you have not activated it now, it's what you need to do to maximize those benefits going forward, because that is going to be your monthly check that you're going to have every single month. And there's a lot of like savvy decisions you can make before you make that claim. Now, unfortunately, Social Security Administration, they're prevented that they can't help you. They can't tell you when's the best time to file for your benefits, right? But we got to look at, how much your benefits are. Should we activate at 62? Should we wait till 66 or should we wait till 70? There's strategies for each of those for different people, right? So don't just do what your neighbor told you to do because you need to activate Social Security now because the government's running money and you need to activate it quick so you make sure you have it. Or the other side is, hey, wait till age 70 because it grows at 8% every year. You delay it, and that's the best thing, right? What's the best for you?
For you.
It depends
Yeah.
on where all your money is allocated. Do you have any other income sources you're going to be getting on top of Social Security, right? Are you still going to be working or your spouse going to be working? Do you have rental income? Things like that. And then before we file, let's find out, especially if you're single, can you file for your ex's spouse's benefits and get half of those before you file for yours? That's huge.
And you
Okay.
can.
You can't.
Right?
Yeah. Most
Yeah.
people don't know that.
That's
And they're like,
huge.
will they find out? Are they going to lose half of their benefits? I'm okay with that. If I take half
Yeah.
of theirs, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
they won't even know you filed. Right.
That's crazy to
So
me. Yeah.
there's so much potential in maximizing Social Security benefits that just people just don't know about, they're unaware about, and they never get because they just file for what they see on their statement. And that's it, right? So
Yeah.
let's look at it and see if there's, what potentials you got to increase it going forward.
Right. This is a great example right here of having a financial professional on our side. There are all kinds of advantages, not just Social Security, but even during times like this, Gary.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we find out all the time, like there's people that do it themselves, right? They research on the internet. Some people do that for their healthcare too and become Dr. Google, right? And sometimes that gives us more fear and anxiety because it's like, oh my gosh, I have all these symptoms. I think I do have this condition or this
Yeah.
disease when, they
Yeah.
probably don't.
I know.
So yeah, navigating this on your own, I couldn't imagine because I see how much my industry changes in months. And, if you learned something just months ago, it's already changed again, right? Just like computers, laptops, they change like every 6 months, they get better. Look how fast AI is developing, right?
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, so what an advisor is going to do is help you stay on track. There's somebody you can call when you have these panics, these fears, or, it's just something comes up, you need to spend money on something, or God forbid your spouse gets sick. How are you going to pay for these expenses? And what buckets of money do you have to pull it from to make sure, one, it's best for, make sure your money's going to live for, as long as you need it too. But two, like, what's the best strategy for tax purposes? And, how is your investments doing? Where should we take that money from when things are down? Right? Where should we take money from when things are up? What's the long-term goal there? And so we can give you solutions to these problems that you may have in the future and just giving you more stability, more
Right.
confidence to have in retirement because, man, retirement's supposed to be fun because it's Saturday every day for the rest of your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
We want you to enjoy that Saturday every single day, okay? But we want to make sure you do have a strategy. Gary's offering you that. Take advantage of this. Give them a call. You may call or text the word visit to 352-888-5851. We are up against a break, but we'll be right back with more from Gary. This is Coasting into Retirement. Stick around. Hi there, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Gary Marriage. He is CEO and president of Nature Coast Financial Advisors in Florida, but he helps retirees all over the country, basically all over the world. All right, some people spend decades diligently saving for retirement, watching those 401ks and IRAs grow. But the question they always forget to ask is, how much of that money will I actually get to keep after taxes? So if you have millions of dollars in your retirement account, Uncle Sam could be entitled to a significant amount of that money, depending on your tax situation. So, Gary, I'm excited to talk about this. I know you are too. Why are tax strategies such a crucial but often overlooked aspect of retirement preparation?
So many people just focus on that accumulation, right? They're trying to grow, just maximize, get as much, make as much as I can, right? And that's great. But the problem is they're growing the money in the wrong place. They're growing it fully taxable, right? So they're just growing the money for their crazy uncle that's going to get 30-40% of this probably in the future, right?
Yeah.
Either from you, or it's going to get it from your kids, right?
Right.
So the traditional retirement accounts is basically a tax trap. Okay. And I tell people this all the time. Like, one of my favorite TV shows is Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Okay. And I ask everybody, and I do large groups too, and I ask, like, who's your favorite person that's on that show that you really want to do business with? And they all say the same thing, right? Mr.
What do
Wonderful.
They do. Mr.
Yeah,
Wonderful, me too.
they're like, oh my gosh, like,
Yep.
that guy would be, a tough
Yeah.
person to deal with. But what if he said, hey, I love your business plan. I love all your ideas. I want to make you an offer.
Right.
Every time you put money into that business, I'm going to pay your taxes. Every time you put money in that business, I'm going to pay the taxes for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but later on down the road, after you've grown this thing and you've been working really hard and you've grown it to this huge business it is today, that's the time I'm going to tell you how much of that business I want as a percentage. And then
Oh.
I'm going to want you to give me a dividend off of that every year too. We'll wait till you're age 73.
Well,
And
that's
then
the
you're like,
worst age.
yeah, right. So it's like, you're going to tell me later how much you want in the business, right?
Yeah.
Most people would never do
No.
like a business deal like that, right? I want to know how much of the business you want now. Well, you're doing the same thing in those retirement accounts, aren't you? Because every time you're adding money into that bucket, or your 401k or 403b, 405, whatever retirement account you have, every time you're adding money in there, that's a tax deduction, right? But you're putting it into that, and then you're growing it. Hopefully you're growing it well, right? And you're just growing and growing and growing it. And later on down the road, they tell you how much of that they want you to pull out every year, pay tax on it. And then how much of that money is going to be taxable? Well, it depends on the tax code. Depends on the
Right.
tax rates, right? So
Uh-huh.
how much of that money do you get to keep? Depends on how much you're pulling out and how you have it structured. Okay, so you pull out more money, well, you're going to pay more in taxes. You grow it even bigger and bigger, guess what? You're going to pay more and more in taxes, right?
Yes.
So with the growing debt that we have today, and the tax rates, that we have today are some of the lowest I think you're ever going to see. Right now, we know we're good till 2028.
Yeah.
What happens after that? Depends on how everybody votes, right?
Right.
Because all this stuff is written in pencil. Okay.
Exactly.
So being tax diversified is okay, but just know that how you're diversified and then how you're going to have those accounts pay you back later in the future is going to find out really how much taxes you're going to pay in the future, right? And a lot of people don't look at this too as, you're growing all this money. That's great. You're growing a lot of taxes, but what happens if one of you passes away? It's called a widow's tax, okay? Because when you have a joint bracket and both of you are still here, when one spouse passes away, you still have the same amount of money in IRAs. You still have to
Right.
take those same mandatory distributions, but now you're in a single tax bracket. You pay more. And it's sometimes 20 to 30, 50% more in taxes than you're paying right now. Most
Right.
people will tell me all the time, like, I pay so much in taxes. I hate it. My taxes are so high. It's crazy. I'm like, well, you're married, and they're like, oh yeah, she's expensive. He's expensive. It's more expensive if something happens to one of you because you still have the same amount of money and you have to take that out. You're going to pay even more taxes. So being tax
Wow.
diversified is okay, but make sure we're tax diversified and maybe we're doing Roth conversions, right?
Okay, I want you to help me with tax diversification. Okay, kind of take us through what does that look like, and
Okay.
explain again. I know it's very valuable for retirees, but take us through tax diversification, please.
So think of it like three different buckets. Okay. You're going to have your tax deferred money. That's that 401k. That's the IRA. That's the money you're putting in every single month or so much out of your paychecks and things like that too. And you have that money in a 401k, or maybe you have in a brokerage account or something like that. Okay. Then you got your tax-free accounts, right? So that's some of my favorite money, right? That's the money you're putting money into that bucket, but you're not getting a tax deduction for it. But every time you're putting money in that bucket, it's growing. And then you're
Mhm.
growing it in whatever fund or fancy vehicle, whatever you have to grow that money in, that money's growing. And that's going to grow and grow and grow. And later on down the road, you can take money out of that tax free.
Yes.
Okay. And then you got your other accounts that are basically taxed every year, like your 1099 accounts. And that's like some of your brokerage accounts too, or your CDs at the bank, those savings accounts. CDs, I
Mhm.
call them certificates of disappointment now, right? Because they're not making 6% anymore like they were, right? They've dropped, they're 3.5%, 4% now too. But having those buckets of those 3 buckets of money really depends on now, and how you're taking money out of those buckets depends on how much you're going to pay extra in Social Security taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. How much your Medicare premiums are going to go up, those surcharges that they add on top of all that stuff too, right? So maximizing the taxes and, minimizing those withdrawals that you're going to pay taxes on in the future is going to really affect how much money you're going to get to keep in Social Security and Medicare at the same time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so funny, but retirees are surprised when they find out their Social Security benefits are taxed,
Yeah.
and then that their Medicare premiums could increase based on that income. So it's very confusing for retirees. Um, get into that, please. Strategic withdrawals that can help minimize those additional costs.
Yeah. So right now, as of, 2026, as a married couple, you've got about $47,000 of standard deductions. Hello. That's
Yeah,
huge.
I know. It
That's the
is
big,
huge.
beautiful bill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if you're expanding on that and you're drawing more than that, then up to 85% of your Social Security benefits are going to be taxable. Okay. And that's combined income. Okay. That's your income, her income, or however you got it set up. Right.
Right.
You got to be careful because if you take too much out, or, some people will like, oh, I found this great deal on a house and I want to buy it. So I'm going to take a big distribution on my 401k now because I'm over 59 and a half and I'm going to go buy this house. Well, guess what happens now? Now your premiums go up on your Medicare premiums too if you're over 65. And some people don't look at that. Okay. There's this little thing called IRMA that happens too.
Aunt Irma. We got Uncle Sam and Aunt Irma.
I know. Yeah. Two great people. So, yeah. So those withdrawals you got to be careful of because that's going to drive everything up. And then that can cost you an extra Medicare premiums for the next 2 years. You make a simple mistake like that and pull a big chunk of money out of the wrong account. Okay. So that's why I love Roth IRAs. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're adding money into Roth IRAs and you're doing this now over your lifetime, you're going to build up some tax-free money. So if there's something comes up in the future that you want to buy or that you have to have, or has anybody ever bought something in their life they really didn't need, but they really wanted? I mean, I'm guilty. Okay. I'm
I think
guilty.
everybody's
Right.
hands up. Yeah.
Yeah. I buy stuff I don't need all the time, right?
Right.
So, but those withdrawals that you take from a Roth IRA, those don't count during all those calculations that we're talking about before. And they can help you stay below those thresholds where your Medicare premium is going to go up. So if somebody's got to take out, $60,000 to pay for whatever it is, I'm like, hey, let's take, $30,000 out of the traditional IRA and let's take maybe $10,000 out of this bucket, take $10,000 or $20,000 out of this bucket and look how much we save in taxes by doing it versus taking the whole $60,000 out of your 401k or your IRA, right? Little
Okay.
things like that.
You explained this so well. And, tax strategies are part of your retirement CAT scan. You help retirees come up with a plan for their retirement. A lot of people come in and they think they have a plan, but they just have their 401ks and their IRAs, right? You hear that all the
Yeah.
time.
Or it's all
So,
on a spreadsheet. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I've got my spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us how this retirement CAT scan works, and you are offering these today.
So again, we're just going to look at what you've done today, right? So a lot of times it's the first time somebody's ever met with an advisor. And if I can get this information pre our visit, the visits go way more better because then, there's more information. You'll get more value from it as you sit with us because I've already looked at everything. I've already got it plugged into our system. Okay. So it's like, where are you getting your income now? Or where are you planning to get your income in the future? All right. Okay. Two, like how much have you saved for retirement? How much money do you have in each of these buckets of money do you have in your checking, your savings, your 401ks, your Roth? How much does your spouse have? How much income are you generating right now, either off of those positions, or how much income are you generating from working maybe still too at the same time, right?
Hmm.
So we'll look at all of these things. And then again, the hardest question I have to ask you and get you to answer for me is how much do you spend a month? Right? It's the
Yeah.
toughest one. It
Yeah.
takes people the longest to figure that out, or they guess, and they guess very low. I
Right.
don't want to guess low because these are the things that I need this money to pay for going forward. Okay. So I want to be as close as I can with that. If not, I'm going to add like another $500 to it just to make sure we're really good. Okay. And put inflation on it, things like that too. But anything that you have as far as questions in retirement, this retirement CAT scan is going to uncover it and going to help you. What happens if something happens to you or your spouse? How are we going to take income? Where are we going to take the income from? Which positions are we going to take it from? When you file for Social Security, how should you file it? You're going to get a pension. Awesome. How do you take it? Do you take it in a lump sum? Do you take it with a spousal benefit? Right? We can do this in the software that I've created. And what I love about it, Luann, is we can make all the mistakes in the plan before you do it in real life.
Yes, I love
Okay.
that.
It helps you from making mistakes
Yeah.
that can be detrimental to you in the future. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
not what I call a retirement CAT scan. I'm friends with a lot of doctors. And if something's wrong with you, usually you want to get a CAT scan to find out what's going on and how do you fix it. Right.
Right.
So this tax code is just constantly changing every
Hmm.
time. Right. And it depends on
Right.
the elections, things like that too. How long is it going to stay the way it is? I have no idea. You don't
Right.
know. I don't know. And nobody knows. Right.
Yeah.
But we know it's going to be good till 2028. Then we find
Mm.
out with the elections where it goes from there. But
Right.
what we can do now is optimize everything you're doing. So in case taxes do go up in the future, we saved a ton of it right now before we get to that point. Right. So it's called a retirement CAT scan. You can text the word visit to us, or you can give us a call 352-888-5851. Again, 352-888-5851. Or we can just do this on Zoom too. We can send you a Calendly link and you can get on my calendar, and then we can book like a 30-minute or 60-minute visit to answer any questions that you have. So get this retirement CAT scan. It's going to open the door for you of a lot of things you've never seen before.
It really will. And Gary, thank you so much for all these tax strategies today, all of your advice. That is all the time we have. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for everybody watching the show. I hope you had a good insight to it. And it was one of our first ones that we did here on a podcast. So look for this every single week. We're going to be doing different strategies and talks and different things for you. So thanks for tuning in to Coasting into Retirement. See you on the next show.